Hello, welcome back. Oh my God. Okay, I have not uploaded in a little bit, and I'm just gonna drop the bomb on why, as we're going straight in. Um, oh my God. Thank you so much for the fucking engagement with the videos. Jesus Christ. Never in a million nights did I think that like me just like coming on here and like ranting about fucking anything would result in anything like this in any way, shape, or form. So thank you so much. Um, Gosh, where do I even begin? Oh, actually, I do know where to begin. First of all, I have a fucking webcam now. What do you think about this? Because obviously beforehand I was recording down there. Gosh, that is like Heaven's Gates kind of light. I'm so sorry about that. And also I'm sorry about this. I don't know what this is. I'm gonna try fixing it somewhere down the line. I don't know when exactly, but I'm gonna try fixing it somewhere down the line. But yeah, I have a webcam now. Going back to what I was saying, I was obviously recording down here, and then like for one video, for some fucking reason, I put my phone up here, but I have a webcam now, and I have a mic, which I have no fucking idea how detrimental I sound. I am going to try making this a little longer in comparison to my other videos, which means I have to talk for a progressive amount of time, but it's okay. It should be okay. Um, but before we get into it, I actually want to cover certain things. Um, I have had a lot of comments left on how to start up this type of style when it comes to channels and stuff like that. And this has been quite a few now in a row. And like, gosh, I don't even like. Okay, specifically, right? There have been a few comments which is like, obviously, like, how did you start this up? But it's like, I really like look up to this kind of style and like, but I'm just kind of like scared to like like grab a camera and put it up to my face. But like you don't necessarily need to do like what I'm doing where it's showing your face. Like on my other channel I had like a it wasn't like primarily for rants. I mean it was usually playing games, but like sometimes I would just have like a game in the background while like a ranting or something like that, and it did completely fine. Sometimes I would get like 1,000 views, 2,000 views, so on and so on. It doesn't always have to be like facing you, which is quite because a lot of people see this and they're like, oh, but these do so much better and stuff. Like, they really don't. You're just not seeing the other ones because that's not the side of YouTube you're on, which is like also okay, like that's fine. Like you can get yourself onto that side. But I did a lot of research prior to doing this to kind of see which kind of videos performed better, and obviously I noticed as well that like unscripted ones, it's just more like from the heart. You can script them, or like at least like for example what some people do, especially if it's longer videos, they'll get like a gist of topics they would cover, but like apart from that those topics will be unscripted. Like the only scripted segment will just be like the topics they want to cover, right? Which is also something you can very easily do if you have trouble, like maybe like remembering. It's definitely what I do. I literally have it on my phone right now. But I'm gonna quickly cover. I have two things I want to talk about here. Um, the first one being is in my last video, I had made one called "You'll Be Okay." Okay, and I'm not gonna like name drop or anything, don't worry. I mean, if you really want to, you can go to that video and you'll already see the comment. But in that video, I had mentioned that I am 17 and that, I'm wiser than you might think, right? Quote. And I had a comment in that video that had said that I basically don't really know what I'm talking about, right? Because of that. And I kind of want to talk about this because I feel like this might be a view, especially now that I've like dropped my age. um, this might be a common view that a lot of people have. And I just want to put it out there that like I know, like my target audience is at least when I'm talking about stuff like the last video, because a lot of my videos are kind of like rants that can kind of go into any age range, right? Any kind of audience can come along and watch it, disagree, agree. And I've had that, fucking lovely. I love you all, right? But especially for like that video I made where I was talking about that you'll be okay and stuff like that, I referenced a lot of things that were to do with school, college. I very vaguely mentioned work just because, like, I like I don't know, I haven't been in that ground for long enough to be able to talk about it, right? I mean, of course, like I said, I'm fucking 17, you know. Um, and that comment felt like almost like a piece of hate, like a critique almost. And I just want to say, like, I know that's why I mentioned my age pretty early on before starting the whole rant, so people know, like, this will, if you're like fucking 60, this probably won't apply to you. Because there's different problems as you grow older and stuff like that, you know? Like, someone who's young probably won't have the same problems as someone who's like 45, right? So, I think that was like a pretty important mention for me in the beginning. But that's just something I wanted to cover real quick. I'm not gonna go too far into this. I feel like you kind of get the gist. But in the beginning of this video, bouncing back a little bit, of course, I mentioned that I haven't posted in a while, and that is because it's getting dangerously scarier to fucking post, dude. Because, like, little fun fact, this is like my first time using a webcam, in any shape or form, right? I always found it really scary to post my face. With my other channel, whenever I would, it would be a gaming channel, so I would never post my face in any shape or form. But when I started seeing that, like, I'm doing relatively well while posting my face, it really fucking freaked me out, I have to say. I was just like, oh my god. And, like, obviously, sometimes I talk about things that, cover a lot of opinions. Some things might be a little bit controversial at times as well, you know? And, that's kind of scary. That's kind of fucking scary to talk about. So, that is kind of why, like, but I will say, right, that doesn't mean I'm fucking quitting, okay? That doesn't mean I'm going. Um, Confidence is key, okay? You need to have the confidence to do this kind of stuff, and I am on it. I just had to take a little bit of a step back to think about, like, okay, I got this. Like, I have this, I got it, and I can do it. So, I'm gonna say one more time, thank you for all the fucking support you guys have given, and, you know, let's jump in, let's just jump straight in. We're gonna be talking about death. Uh, Now the thing is, when it comes to death, right, is of course there are a lot of theories on what happens after death. I mean, like the primary one being a lot of religious areas, for like I mean like the largest one being fucking Christianity, depending on what area you're in. At least in the UK, it actually used to be the largest one. Now it's not. Um, it's actually very I'm pretty sure it's primarily atheist, not primarily atheist now. Jesus Christ, sorry for the misinformation, but quite recently it dropped below 50% of UK being Christian, which is quite interesting. However, anyway, because I was going into religion based off of like heaven and hell, obviously, because you know to a perception that is also a theory on death, as big as it is a theory within itself, right? But you can also go into the cosmic theory, you can go into reincarnation, you can go into the egg theory, you can go into the eternal return theory if you really wanted to, you can go into quantum immortality. There are lots of things you can go into, right? And some of them speculate in maybe your belief what you grew up with. Some of them might speculate into things you research. Some of them may even be something not necessarily you believe in, but things you've learned about, which is like my case as well. I don't actually believe in anything. I think I'm not nihilistic as a whole, but when it comes to belief after death, I have a very nihilistic approach to it, that it's just like nothing afterwards. But I don't go into any of the ethics of nihilism. A lot of people don't really they know nihilism as like life has no purpose, which yes, like while that's true, there's a lot of views in it, for example, abolishing any political authority or anything like that, because it simply has no fucking meaning. And how good and bad is all like determined by society and all that kind of stuff. But this goes into life. It goes all into life's purpose, that kind of side to it. But the thing is, right, is like you can also kind of determine what part you go into, in which what you believe life's purpose is, right? Because if you think life has a purpose, um, all right, no, actually, let me put it this way: if life has no purpose, it would make sense for it to be a void afterwards, right? But that isn't always the case with everyone. I'm saying this is like a common kind of perception, right? This isn't always the case with everyone. For example, some people think that life purpose is already there, even if it's as simple as fucking reproducing, keeping populations alive through generations and stuff, or whether humans need to find their purpose, like create their own purpose, sorry, like that kind of thing, or there is a purpose and humans have to go out to find it themselves. There is a lot of there is a lot of things on that too, and I guess you can take that as well and determine whether or not um if for example if you found your purpose, if you have something waiting for you after death because you found it or no, or if it's just a case that you should fulfill your purpose for the benefit of yourselves, which is, there's a lot of conversations you can stem out of this. However, um my main question here, right, which is what I want to focus on, is should you be scared of death? And are you scared of death? I thought it would be interesting to do some small coverage on the philosopher Albert Camus, because he covers the idea of absurdism, right? And a lot of people hear about absurdism, right? It is a common it's almost like a buzzword, right? Whenever people think of philosophy and they mention absurdism, it's just like, oh, you're a shit philosopher, whatever. And I'm not calling myself a philosopher in any way, shape, or form. Okay, I'm not gonna like go into this, but a lot of people don't really know or know like very like surface level idea of absurdism, right? Which is the questioning of life, right? And whilst that is partially correct, it goes into deeper things, right? Like for example, Camus believes that life. I don't want to say he directly thinks life has no purpose, but in the chance that it does have no purpose, it almost gives humans more appreciation to Earth's aesthetics. Um, it gives appreciation to like smaller moments, and for that reason, he actually looks at the fact that suicide as well is almost like running away from that why, and same with religion. Like he views a religion as more of a comfort or anything like that. And like once again, I'm not saying I directly like believe in this or anything, but I'm more so explaining his perspective on these kind of things, right? It's interesting because a lot of people have this kind of view of why am I alive? Why am I doing the thing I'm doing right now? They'll look in the present moment, they'll be having a conversation with someone and be like, dude, I can actually speak. Why am I able to speak? How have humans evolved so far to be able to like complete these kind of things, and it's a very interesting concept, I have to say. And the more you look into him, the more you realize that actually he is right in certain forms, which is why in the beginning I said even if humans have no purpose, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll link to the kind of the nihilistic perspective that there's only void afterwards or anything like that. Because, for example, with Camus, like I said, like he actually takes this as more of an appreciation. It helps people enjoy more like life more. It almost gives people a reason to explore, and it is a very interesting way to live life. like he has a very famous quote which goes by, should I kill myself or have a cup of coffee? Which when you first hear it, you might be like, but with the context, with knowing him, and that is a very fucking vague explanation. Don't even get me wrong. If you want to look into him, please do. He's a very interesting philosopher, very, very thoughtful. And that quote there really does just show the value. Like if you don't see that value in life, it's more of just like that waking up and being like, there's anything I do have a purpose or anything like that. And I know the topic of this video is death and stuff like that, but I'm sorry. I just really wanted to get into the side around of that because it might link into things I'm going to be talking about later on. More so because it provides that purpose area I wanted to cover first. But that's just one philosopher. I mean, like if you really wanted to, you can go into, other ones like Friedrich Nietzsche is really interesting. Some people argue whether he goes into more existentialism or nihilism. That's kind of like from the research I did, I actually found he was a bit for and against nihilism. So if you want to take on some research in that, like or if you might want to let me know because I am very interested in that kind of stuff. So I'd be very down. But that's not something I'm going to focus on at the minute. I just currently wanted to cover Camus because he actually raises some very good points about life. That questioning of why, that question of why we do anything. And that matter of fact, I don't know if that was a sound coming up there. Oh God, I really got that thing coming up in the recording. If it didn't, though. If it didn't, then moving on. Okay, first of all, sorry for the cut, but I ended up changing some little like lighting stuff, so hopefully now things are a little bit better. That little thing which I mentioned in the beginning is gone now, as well as this isn't like fucking purling out, right? So, but now that we have covered some things about Albert Camus, I just wanted to give him as an example because just to give some kind of like something so on. You can kind of take this and hopefully from this you can interpret how maybe someone would fear death a little less because there's that kind of like almost distraction. Not maybe not even a distraction, but it's kind of like that thing which is like, okay, you live once. I am going to live this out the best way. And like I think for me, um, you might know someone called Joe Bartolozzi. He's quite a popular person throughout the media, and I remember I was watching one of his streams and he said that one of his main things is or his goal, sorry, is to not fear death by the time it's soon to arrive, right? And I took that quite deeply, and that is actually something I heavily relate to. I think I would say that this is kind of my goal as well. That as I get closer and closer to death, I want to fear it less and less. Um, because I feel like now I've kind of like gotten to the point where I've done a lot of research within this kind of stuff, right? And there's a lot of things that sometimes even make me fear death a bit more, and there's some things that make me fear death a little less. And it's almost like a constant battle, you know? Um, which is why a lot of these theories, I would say, are more of a comfort, if anything. My standpoint is that there is nothing after life, and that it is void. And that sounds very, that sounds very terrifying. But for example, with what I talked about with absurdism, that is a very good way to kind of take away that fear within it. Um, which is exactly why I wanted to talk about it again because like whilst in the moment it didn't make that much sense when I was talking about purpose because like duh we're not talking about purpose here, we're talking about death. Um, it's a very good way to kind of cope with that fear, you know. Knowing that this is your only chance almost and that you should like have some kind like have something to fulfill, whether it is going out of your way to find your purpose, as Albert Camus says, just about how interesting life is and the things you can do with it, the small moments that you can take in. Like for example, you like I love talking about this guy, dude. He's literally like gonna be like the fucking the shadow warrior of this whole video, just because it's a nice example. I'd rather pick out one person and kind of like relate it back as an example, not as something I'm telling you to follow, as more of an example. But fuck, I forgot. I literally forgot what I was gonna say. Jesus Christ, I'm going with this raw. Give me a second. Okay, fine. I'm gonna come back to that if I remember what I was originally going to say. But going back to the question I asked earlier, whether or not you fear death or should you fear death in that matter of fact, I would definitely say you should not fear it. I think it's understandable why someone may fear it. Because there's obviously that idea of the unknown, like we have never, even I'm actually going to go into the fact of near-death experiences where someone will have to get resuscitated. Oh my God, sorry, I'm not Polish. I don't know how to. They come back to life. I hope you know what word I was trying to say. Um, but with that kind of stuff, a lot of research comes to show that a lot of people kind of have different experiences with it, that which could possibly be explained by the fact that your brain kind of creates what you want it to see. Like, for example, people who are religious, they'll see some kind of religious imagery, religious authority, anything kind of like that kind of stuff, right? Because it's what their brain almost wants them to see. But some people don't see anything. People who aren't religious, they won't see anything. And I'm not talking about anyone who's atheist. Anyone who's an atheist will see that, or anyone who's religious will see that. It all kind of like overlaps each other. But the main point is that not everybody sees the same thing. So I think from that, I would say at least for me, near-death experiences aren't a very reliable way of explaining what is after death and such. But I think it's always that fear of the unknown, the fact that nobody knows and nobody will know until it's there. But then you can't spread that message either, and it's that kind of waiting game that fears people out. But I think once you kind of are able to find comfort within that and find those distractions within that, that can really just like make you focus on the present and get yourself in that mindset of like, okay, one day this will happen and there's nothing I can do about it. That acceptance and that understanding, I think that is the true peace. I think that is the true peace that you will find within yourself. And I'm not talking about peace like there is still going to be conflict in your fucking life, you know. But to be able to understand that there will be, you know, that good and bad in your life, there is nothing you can do about it. There is, you know, nothing to stop it. There will essentially always be suffering within the world. I mean, like once you find that understanding within that, I think that is when you can try, like you can truly find that peace with your mind. And that is actually wow, that came off a lot deeper than I thought it would have, you know. But this is why it's really interesting to talk about this kind of stuff, I think. And I'm glad it's a very big like running factor among people. And I think you should be having that question, you know, like why is anything like this going on? I wonder like what it's going to be like afterwards, or if I'm here just by chance, or if there's a reason I'm here. You know, I think it's very important for people to kind of like raise that questions within themselves, within with the people, just because it's like I think it's very interesting to see everybody else's perspective on this kind of stuff. I'm a very open-minded person. I've mentioned this in previous videos. I think it's very, very, very interesting just to see the fucking various different things that you know, people you know stay with. Maybe not even belief-wise, but things people use as a comfort, or you know, ways that someone may live their life just as more of like if I once again if I link it back to Camus, he kind of says that it helps him find more appreciate oh my gosh, sorry, it helps him find more appreciation within aesthetics within the world, and I think that's a beautiful way to live life, and you know, and things like that. um I mentioned vaguely existentialism as well, which is another like very, very interesting way to live life. And I think you should, if you don't know a lot about it, I think it's very worth looking into that as well, because honestly, all of these things, all of these topics are just so interesting to cover. I mean, there is so many different things you can bring up, so many theories on, you know, I mean, I talked about quantum immortality a bit in the beginning of the video, and that one is so in depth, you know. I mean, like if I want to go into like a little bit, it's the idea that there are like parallel universes, right? So think about like a duplicate of Earth in like a million light years away, dude. It doesn't matter, right? And we are all in it, everyone, right? There's a clone of you in it. And imagine that you die on this Earth, but your consciousness, sorry, just gets completely transferred to that other universe. But you've been alive in that universe the whole time. You've just died in this one, but you don't realize it because your consciousness got transferred so quickly that you're just in that Earth. You don't even know that you just died. You're just chilling, and that is a very interesting way to view it, right? Because that technically means that you might have died like 5 different times, but you just haven't noticed it. So that is a very interesting way to view that. But then it kind of like gets a bit dumb fuck because like at some point, no, actually, no. That is my bad. That is my bad because I was gonna say at some point, obviously, when we see someone die, it's like, well, yeah, we know about death, but that's just my lack of information. Because now that I thought about it for like 2 more seconds, that's not true. Because we might see someone die, but they don't even know that they died. Their consciousness just got transferred. They're in a universe ages away now, in the same Earth. What an inch! I love talking about this kind of stuff because it's like now I guess after we've talked about this, I want to ask you guys for the final time: do you fear death? Do you think other people should fear death, and why? Because you see, I feel like now that I've kind of linked it with like human purpose and ways that you can follow through with life to kind of like assist with that fear, you know, maybe like desensitize it to some extent a little bit. Um I want to re-ask it now as just like an end of the video kind of question. So let me know. Let me know what you think. Because fuck, this is an interesting ass topic. I mean, like the things that people have, these, you know, these ideologies that people have come up with. They're just so intelligent, so smart, so clever. Like they just, oh my gosh, and they just make terrifyingly perfect sense as well. And there's a chance that one of them are true. And I guess that's something that's quite fearful as well. So I want to know what you guys think. Let me know. Let me know. I am very fucking interested. But if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below. If you want me to talk about anything as well, you know, if you want to hear my views on anything, that would be fucking lovely. I'm gonna say it one more time. Thank you for the support. Honestly, I every single time I want to talk about this, I'm just completely dumbfucked on what to say. Like it's just it's insane, and I'll stick with it. I promise I'll stick with it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.